at the IHRA. And the IndyCar Shuffle has teams and drivers jumping. This and more next on Speedweek.
Speedweek is brought to you by Dodge Cars and Trucks. For performance on road and off, it's got to be a Dodge.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our first 1989 edition of Speedweek. Even though we're only 6 days into the new year, for some, the racing season is beginning to hit full stride. IMSA racers are currently at Daytona preparing for the Sunbank 24 Hours. 21 teams showed up for this 4-day practice session, the only one scheduled prior to the race 1 month from now. Some teams felt they had to get down to serious business right away.
The fact is, it just doesn't seem to go. I got behind Ruggiero and he slowed down, so I couldn't really tell anything.
While others put the work aside for a little reminiscing.
1985, we ran at Michigan, MIS. They got like a oval like this, an infield. Right. I took Nancy 11 for riding the 962, Bruce's wife.
Yeah. Interesting things that I observed while there, the international flavor of IMSA. In addition to the Germans and Americans, Japanese were in abundance, working among other things on this Group C 4-rotor 650 horsepower Mazda, as well as assisting on the Dan Gurney All-American Racers Group C Toyota.
It's the second year for, I guess, for this car. It campaigned at several tracks throughout Japan, Fuji, and Suzuki, and then also has run Le Mans last year.
And to really confuse things, how about this hybrid Porsche chassis with a General Motors stock block engine? One of its drivers, Dan Pastorini, who will also continue to run Top Fuel dragsters.
You've looked them over. Who's your choice in the Super Bowl?
Who's playing, right? I got to go with Chicago and Cincinnati. I know I hate to say that, but San Francisco's got a real good shot. But I got to go with Chicago and Cincinnati.
Most of the major teams didn't participate, having tested privately last month. But there was a major news story here at Daytona. The reappearance of John Paul Jr. out of prison after serving 2.5 years on drug charges. Many believe John was the innocent victim of his father's influence. John Paul Sr. remains in prison on similar drug charges. Paul Jr. was warmly accepted by old friends. Longtime friend Phil Conti is backing Paul in his comeback attempt, which he hopes will begin at the 24 Hours. Conti is deciding which of 3 teams to become associated with. We asked Paul about his 30 months of confinement in Montgomery, Alabama.
The thing is, you know, you're doing a lot of the same things every day. Monotony, I guess, would be the worst part of it. And the fact that you're having to put your wife and in my case, a child through all of it. That weighs on you, because you have time to think about it.
How have they reacted to all this?
They've been super. They really have. Everything that I went away for happened before I met them, and they've dealt with it very well. They've stood behind me.
Do you feel like that you can now pick up and come back to where you were before this all happened in terms of your family life, your social life, and your racing career?
Well, it's all something I have to prove to everyone. I've done some things that I'm not proud of, and I think everyone needs to see that I'm willing to make an effort here, and I'm going to have to gain people's trust and respect.
There was an article published recently that said that the era of drugs in racing is over with the sentencing of Randy Lanier recently, that it's all behind us. Do you share those views?
Yeah, I think they cleaned house very well. I certainly hope so. The sport doesn't deserve it, and I've done my share of really hurting it, and I hope I can make up for that.
Prior to serving time, Paul had already made a mark in racing. At age 19, he began his career in IMSA. During a 6-year span, he won 13 events. 1982 was his big year when he won the GTP championship with a record 9 wins in 18 races. That record was broken last year. At age 23, he defeated Kart's best by winning the Michigan 500. Now at age 28, he's ready to resume his career. How did you feel, and what are your hopes now as you apparently are about to step back into a race car?
I was standing there talking to someone, and one started up. It really caught me by surprise. It kind of jumped. And then we're standing beside one of the Porsches, and the smell all hit me. It was really unique. I remember that. But it's a nice environment. I hope to be able to be a part of it.
When we were there, the car wasn't quite ready. John was not able to get in a few practice laps.
Speedweek is brought to you by Dodge Cars and Trucks. For performance on road and off, it's got to be a Dodge. And by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. Up next, Sneva gets ready for his first full-time ride in 3 years. And later, tires are already a hot topic in Winston Cup.
Created to slip the bounds of nature and powered by an unrelenting force within. The intercooled, turbocharged Dodge Daytona Shelby.
Now, get up to $500 cash back or special low financing on Daytonas in stock.
Quaker State, the big Q stands for quality.
We engineer quality into every drop of Quaker State motor oil. Only Quaker State has QSX, an advanced formula proven to run clean for unbeatable protection from wear and tear.
Before our oil's good enough for your car, we prove that it works in our car.
Quaker State quality. We don't just talk about it, we live by it.
Quaker State, the big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
Celebrate the new year all January long with ESPN. Top NCAA basketball, 4 nights each week featuring Big Monday doubleheaders. There's World Cup skiing and from down under Grand Slam tennis with the Australian Open. Football's All-Stars are back at the NFL Pro Bowl and the College Rico Japan Bowl. Plus, golf's finest perform at the Tournament of Champions and live Tuesday night top-ranked boxing. January's worth celebrating with ESPN.
There's another developing story within IMSA that even some of those at Daytona were not aware of, but we are. A couple of races are in financial trouble. West Palm Beach reportedly will lose its Pontiac sponsorship if not televised nationally. And another is Columbus, as Marty Reed explains.
The Columbus 500 was supposed to make money in its 3rd year, but last year, the 4th, it lost money again.
It exceeds $200,000. How much it is, we don't know for sure.
Compounding the problem is the dropping of the race from the ESPN television schedule. Plus, only one signed contract from a major sponsor and no executive director to solve those problems. The future of the race will be put squarely in the laps of City Council. Race officials have informally approached Council about possible funding, reportedly $300,000.
We probably cannot do it without direct city financial support, as most other street races in the country receive.
But Mayor Dana Reinhardt promised back in 1985 that no city funds would be needed, and Council may run the mayor down with his own words.
I'd say it's in some doubt at this point. The fact that we have no executive director right now is not the major impediment. The major impediment's the money.
There were still rumors flying around Daytona concerning the sale of IMSA, but President John Bishop denies that a deal is in the works. We ask a few drivers what they would like new owners to change.
I'd say the biggest thing that they could probably enhance, it would be the marketing end, just to get a little more marketing, get a little more promotion. These cars are really dramatic to watch, and I think with a little extra marketing effort and a little support in that direction, I think that IMSA could be even more successful than they are now.
I recommend that they would take some lessons from NASCAR. Figure out a way to get the cost of racing down. Number 1, no turbos. Number 2, get the size of the engines down to 5 liters. Number 3, disallow a lot of the modifications that we can do right now. You can kill a lot of carbon stuff. You can kill carbon brakes, carbon sway bars. do a lot to get the cost of racing down.
Besides IMSA, the sale of another racing sanctioning body is imminent. Billy Meyer will sell the International Hot Rod Association to former IHRA official Ted Jones and pro stock driver Jim Ruth. They plan to operate business as usual this year. The big story in IndyCars this week is that Roberto Guerrero has been released by the Vince Granatelli team. Tom Sneva will take his place. Guerrero will join a new Alfa Romeo effort. And joining us now from Phoenix is Tom Sneva. You were on the show just last week, Tom, and you said you would give up your golfing game if you could find a full-time IndyCar ride. Did this thing come together that quickly?
Well, actually, it did. You know, we've been talking to Vince about running with him at Indianapolis, maybe a couple selected races, but with the recent developments, it's turned into a lot more than that, and I'm very excited about joining the Granatelli team and working with STP, a sponsor that's been long associated with the world of motorsports.
Now, Tom, you're going to be running that Buick engine. Is that going to be competitive only at Indianapolis? Do you have a chance in the other kart races?
Well, I know Vince and Sonny Myers and the engine department have been working for the last 4 or 5 months in trying to develop the engine and gain in the reliability end of things, and they've been making some big strides. We think it'll be very competitive at Indianapolis. It's going to be a struggle in the kart series with the difference in the rules and regulations, but it's a challenge that Vince and myself are really looking forward to, because to take something that most people think isn't competitive and can't be done and try to make it competitive, it's an added challenge that excites me.
Does the fact that the Chevy engine isn't available to more teams bother you?
Well, I don't know if it's just the Chevrolet or any piece of equipment. You know, motorsports and IndyCar racing, to grow and to be more successful, we have to be more entertaining, and in racing, that's closer racing, and it's very hard for the races to be close if the same equipment isn't available to all the teams, and I think that's the unfortunate part, is that you've got the haves and have-nots, and there's some have-nots that actually have the financial budget to be on the have side, but they just can't get a hold of the equipment that makes them more competitive. And because of that, it's very difficult for me to understand how the sport can become more entertaining, or as entertaining as the potential for the sport to be. And we need to be more entertaining for the sport to grow.
All right, Tom, thank you. We'll see you on the circuit.
Thank you, Bob.
And now for the other side of this story, Guerrero's parting company with Granatelli. The Guerrero-Granatelli combination lasted 2 years. In 1987, Roberto and the team won 2 races, but that's where their success would end. 1988 was a totally different story. Crashes at Indianapolis and Milwaukee put the team into a hole it was never able to emerge from. So now Roberto moves on under contract to Alfa Romeo.
You know, Vince, he didn't even know what he was going to do yet. And, you know, he told me that very sincerely. He says, you know, I really don't know. I don't have a secondary sponsor. I don't know if I'm going to be doing the whole season. I don't know if maybe I'll do just Indianapolis and whatever. So, you know, when I hear that, I started obviously talking to them a little bit more seriously. You know, I mean, they wanted me to drive for them, and it was such a good opportunity, especially for the future, that I really couldn't turn it down. So it all worked out okay.
Johnny Caples Racing met with limited success last year with Howdy Holmes as driver. The team's last win came in 1986 when Johnny Rutherford won the Michigan 500. Caples is willing to possibly sacrifice a couple of years in order to develop an engine that will hopefully compete with the Chevy.
And the commitments in this combination of March and Alpha and myself and our team, it's a 3-year program minimum, and we want to try to take those 3 years and come away with something. And naturally, in order to benefit from a 3-year program, the first year is probably going to be a little rough and shaky before we round off the edges, but there's certain concepts of this engine that resemble Ferrari's first manufactured version of their proposed IndyCar effort of 3 or 4 years ago. But outside of that, those little differences, it's a complete new engine.
If history is any indication, Caples and Guerrero have their work cut out for them. Their history is mainly in Formula One. The last Alfa win was with Juan Manuel Fangio back in 1951. In recent times, they have supplied engines, the most recent win with Niki Lauda in 1978. Now at Indy, the last Alfa Romeo was driven by Johnny Morrow to an 8th place finish in 1948. March will build an 89 chassis to house the Alfa engine. March is building only 2 cars this year, one for Alfa and the other for Porsche. Relive those great sprint car days of the 60s and 70s. High-quality, professionally produced sprint car thrills is just $59.95. The most exciting, action-packed racing you'll ever see. Call 1-800-992-VIDEO. Sprint car thrills or Sprint Car Classics Volume 1, just $59.95. Both available in beta or VHS. Call 1-800-992-VIDEO. Dick Wallen's Sprint Car Thrills or Sprint Car Classics, just $59.95 each. Visa and MasterCard welcome. Call 1-800-992-VIDEO now.
They've launched it.
That's impossible.
In today's business battles, you need the latest intelligence. Today's Wall Street Journal.
Think we still have time to move?
Maybe.
Call 800-372-3000 for this special Journal introductory offer. 12 weeks for just $29.75 with a money-back guarantee. 12 weeks, $29.75. Call 800-372-3000 now for the Wall Street Journal.
Danny Berry is on a mission to become Player of the Year. Virginia will try to slow down the Duke Blue Devils right after Clemson takes on Maryland. Saturday night, live on ESPN.
Who can forget the tire war between Goodyear and Hoosier on the Winston Cup circuit last year? Although no shots have been fired on the track yet this year, there is a war of words going on. Here's Jerry Punch.
Early next week, the NASCAR Winston Cup stock cars will be making their way right back here to the high banks of Daytona International Speedway. They'll come back here for testing. Now, part 1 of testing ended shortly before Christmas. Neil Bonnet posted the quickest time driving the Wood Brothers Ford. That speed about a half mile an hour faster than last year's pole. Bobby Hill and his Buick with new crew chief Harry Hyde was second quickest, followed by the 1988 Daytona 500 pole sitter Kenny Schrader. Now, Rookie of the Year candidate Larry Pearson and Rusty Wallace were tied for 4th best. Apparently, Goodyear was encouraged by the results, and even though it's not been officially announced, the Akron tire giant has decided it will run radials in next month's Daytona 500. However, Bonnet's top speed came on Hoosier bias ply tires, not Goodyear radials, and some think that Goodyear's decision to run radials wasn't based on performance, but rather on marketing.
As we've told you before, their whole entity in this program is selling John Doe up there in the stands, their tire. And so radial is what they're selling those people. Radial is what they want to race. But I don't think the radial is a viable oval track tire. I think it's the greatest thing they ever have made for a car and a truck, but it's not for oval track racing.
Despite what Newton says, the radials have drawn rave reviews. Larry Pearson ran the same set for 3 days, and they only showed 1/16 of an inch of wear. And Goodyear engineers think they could last as long as 200 miles. They must be pretty happy with the radials because all used radials will go back into the truck immediately after use. So Hoosier can't steal any secrets. For Speedweek, I'm Jerry Punch.
One car not among those listed as the fastest 5 in testing was the Kenny Bernstein-owned Quaker State Buick. They've been spending most of their time moving into a new shop located in the Charlotte area. Late last year, while the team was blowing engine after engine, Bernstein hired master engine builder Lou LaRosa away from the Richard Childress team, prompting this remark from Dale Earnhardt in National Speed Sport News. Losing Lou is not our most important loss this year. The janitor quit a few weeks ago. LaRosa holds no ill feelings toward Childress or Earnhardt, so then why'd you leave?
I just felt that the team had gotten too big, and I wanted to concentrate more on racing, just Winston Cup racing. And that's basically what Kenny wants to do right now, is that he wants, his main concern over everything is this 26 Quaker State Winston Cup car. I want to put my whole heart and effort into this car, and I'm not concerned with anything else but the 26 car.
Lou may be the missing link on a team with a reputation of being fast, but not able to last.
You know, having Lou LaRosa on board is just, just a big confidence builder, not only for me, I think, but for everybody on the team. Lou's record speaks for itself. He's won 4 or 5 Winston Cup national championships, builds good, strong, fast, dependable motors, and and that was what we had to missing link last year. We had good, fast engines. We just didn't have the dependability worked out like we needed to.
If we can get the durability built in these engines and the consistency that the car had last year as far as handling, I think that you're going to see a mighty tough race car out there.
Pronto, the fastest growing name in auto parts today. Pronto, featuring quality auto parts at lower prices.
Speed. For some, it's like last year the Motorcraft team won 4 world championships. With the same Motorcraft parts you can buy for your car. Motorcraft quality parts from Ford.
When you need to know about auto parts, ask the pro at Pronto.
Big Monday is back. Villanova tries to cool down the red-hot Syracuse Orangemen. Then Indiana battles Purdue in a Big Monday doubleheader at 7:30 Eastern live on ESPN. ESPN is your ticket to the NFL when the AFC and NFC go head-to-head at the 1989 Pro Bowl. The fastest, the strongest, the quickest, and the toughest. 2 of the best football teams ever put together in the grand finale of the NFL season. ESPN's All-Pro team of Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann bring you the head-to-head action of the 1989 Pro Bowl. Sunday, January 29th, live on ESPN.
Nature's light, bathing fields of grain, enriching full fresh hops, giving life to sparkling streams, nourishing all the natural things that go into making Bud Light. The light beer that's beechwood aged for a clean, fresh taste that makes Bud Light the one light that outshines them all.
In auto racing, the big Q stands for quality. In Quaker State's 11,000 RPM Porsche-powered IndyCar. In Ricky Rudd's 625 horsepower high-torque V8. These great racing engines demand the great name in motor oil. Quaker State with QSX, proven to run clean for unbeatable protection from wear and tear.
And the Quaker State that protects all these engines on the track is the same oil you buy right off the shelf.
Quaker State, the big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
Tony, the Postman Thornton, and Mike Kinley battle for the USBA Middleweight Championship as Budweiser presents Top Rank Boxing, Tuesday night, live on ESPN. For those of you who celebrated your New Year's weekend watching hours of football, try celebrating with these guys next year. This group of die-hard racers gathers every year for the annual Hangover Derby at Sandusky Speedway in Ohio.
Oh, we just all get together, come out partying and driving, and better than sitting at home watching football. We don't mind being outdoors in the cold, it don't matter. Even with 20 degrees below, we'd still be here.
This is our yearly tradition, coming out to the races on January 1st.
Pre-race strategy? Nah. When racing finally does begin, the object is the same as it is during the summer. Stay on the racetrack. For all of you who've been stuck in snow, I'm sure you can relate to this. Trying to intimidate your opponent? Well, this turtle sure won't do it. The big winner, Heavy Hill of Columbus, Ohio. You think you've seen some fancy victory dances? Well, check this out. Well, that's it for this edition of Speed Week. Remember, we'll be on Friday nights at 7:30 Eastern until the end of March. We leave you with more from the IMSA test session at Daytona. So long, everyone. Speed Week has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And by Budweiser, Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you.